Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth Wizakowski and I chose the movie Flight. The main character is Denzel Washington and he is a pilot. Um, and throughout the movie, he is very anxious, defensive, um, aggressive, even because the whole movie is about a court case that has been filed against him because of the plane crash. He was under the influence of alcohol and cocaine at the time of the crash, so he um, is trying to make sure that that doesn't come out to the public. So the presenting problem is alcohol use and cocaine use before the flight. He says that he uses cocaine to combat the drinking and the hangover the next morning. He says it kind of makes him more normal and so he can function. He also smokes before the flight, and when he gets on the flight, he asks his flight attendant for some coffee and an aspirin, which the aspirin he could be taking to prevent blood clots, but caffeine could also be a part of his addiction. And then he takes the oxygen mask that the plane supplies and puts it on his face and breathes in really deeply and then holds it and then exhales. So he's kind of like hitting the oxygen mask. He does that 3 times and then asks his co-pilot if he wants to do it, and the co-pilot looks at him like he's crazy. So that was also just one weird thing that I thought could be part of it. This is just a scene from the movie where he is very, very intoxicated. So I thought that this was a good depiction of what an alcoholic might look like. Obviously, it's different for every person, so this is just an example.
Yeah, this is back in the meat. And the nice meeting. I know, it's okay. Yeah. Yep, that's it. Hey, that's it. No. No. Boy,
You want to run the ball. You want to be a quarterback. Let me see you run it back. So fake that out. Fake grandpa out. Oh, Dad. Get that on. That's on grandma. That's what I'm talking about. Good job.
So, that leads me to my mental status exam. His appearance is disheveled, his speech is impoverished, he's very, he cannot get a thought across or a complete sentence, out, and he slurs his words, so he just is really just not all there. His eye contact is avoidant, his motor activity is slow, as you saw in that clip. He tripped over the table. His affect is just really not there. His mood is depressed and anxious throughout the whole movie because of the whole court case that's been filed against him. His cognition, orientation impairment would be object. Memory impairment, none, other than when the only part that he doesn't remember is when the plane crash happened to when he woke up in the hospital, obviously just because he was knocked unconscious. But other than that, there was no short-term memory loss or anything like that. His attention would be distracted, perception. He didn't have any hallucinations or delusions. no suicidal or homicidal thoughts throughout the movie. His behavior is agitated and aggressive, like I said earlier. And his judgment and insight would be poor, except for when he was landing that plane, because obviously he had in mind all of the people on board. He wanted to save as many people as he could. So that leads me to my diagnosis, alcohol use disorder, which is unable to control the amount of consumption for a long period of time. Alcohol use is continued despite knowledge of having a problem and diminished effect, with continued use causing a higher tolerance. So, for the first one, I have a quote that he says to kind of support the amount of consumption over a long period of time. He says, I've been lying about my drinking my whole life. So obviously that is meaning that he's been drinking his whole life. For the next one, he says, I choose to drink. I can stop anytime I want to. So he knows he has a problem, but he continues to drink. So some treatment goals would be to admit that he has a problem, because he hasn't done that yet. He knows he has one, but he hasn't admitted it. The next would be to begin a detox program or a withdrawal program so he can do that safely. And another thing would be for him to attend a support group. So in this case, it would be Alcoholics Anonymous. And then eventually he will refrain from drinking alcohol. Some more things that he could do, pharmacological therapy. He could take naltrexone, which has been shown to reduce the craving and use of alcohol. And then he could go through cognitive behavioral therapy or behavioral couples therapy if he's trying to get back with his ex-wife. She can help him make sure that he's adhering to his medication regimen, and also that he is still abstaining from alcohol. Differential diagnosis would be incoordination, amnesia, sedative, hypnotic, or anxiolytic use disorder. I don't really think that any of these are present in the movie. He doesn't ever black out. He doesn't ever have any hallucinations or anything. So I think the alcohol use disorder definitely fits this character to a T. And that's just my references.